My name is Tricia Ehrlich, and I'm here to talk to you about my role utilizing a public health perspective, research, and data into the work of the Liquor and Cannabis Board. In our last newsletter, I introduced myself and explained that I was using research to inform policy. You may be wondering, what does that look like? We always want to learn more, and there is a lot of research that exists about cannabis, but our knowledge base and our understandings are evolving every day, and incorporating research is more than just looking at the numbers. Oftentimes, research will be cited, presented, or given a lot of media attention, but the numbers being used might be pretty old. Other times we see really strong data, but it's coming from a different nation or a different state, and they might not have the kind of information that's relevant to our legal regulated context that we have here in Washington State. So analyzing economic trends, the effects of potency or product variety may look different from one state to another. This doesn't mean that research from other contexts or different places in the world isn't useful. It just means we have to use it pretty carefully. So we have to kind of take a look at it and identify, how does this fit into our context? What's relevant? What's not? We also know that a lot of the feedback that we get here from consumers, from patients, from business owners hasn't yet been captured by an institution. So we have to balance what the data says with the lived experiences of the people that come into our office. And so the type of research that we look at is really broad. It ranges from economics and policy to terpenes and plant composition, issues relating to social justice, occupational health, health effects on the developing brain, and cannabis for medical use. Sometimes I'm not just looking at the research, but I'm looking at who's funding it, what types of projects are finding the most funding, and this can help give us a picture of what's garnering interest from the National Institutes of Health and other programs that are, funding a lot of cannabis research. So cannabis isn't new at all, but arranging the puzzle pieces of cannabis research into a narrative that helps shape legal policy here in Washington is pretty new. Sometimes work doesn't just mean using research to drive policy, but it also means using the questions that we get as policymakers to drive the research. So for example, we get a lot of questions here around cannabis and pregnancy. While research on the effects of cannabis use during pregnancy exists, a lot of questions remain unanswered. Oftentimes, especially at a national level, when people are conducting research, they'll say, have you smoked marijuana in the last X number of days? But questions about ingesting cannabis orally, topically, or otherwise might not be included. So recently I was able to talk to a researcher on the East Coast who had an active cannabis grant and kind of explain to them our regulatory context here, the types of products that we see here, and they were able to expand their study to make sure that they had questions on alternative types of ingestion and pregnancy. For example, are people consuming orally or topically? And so by getting that kind of information, we can, slowly over time build our knowledge base so that we can really answer these questions that we get all the time. So there's no fast track to getting the answers that we are looking for, but collaborating with research has been a great way for us to start building towards the answers that we want moving forward.